how much more there was to know. So and now, infinitely, I know more, so much more than when I started, but now I'm even more aware of how much there is to know.
Yeah.
So yeah, so which is really kind of cool. So that's what motivates me to keep learning. But how did I build confidence? For me personally, it was just, like I have kind of little cheat notes up there, but I did something every day. So like I would read an article, like we used to go to the local store and get like muscle and fitness magazines, and I got muscular development magazines, and muscular development were thick, so I'd always love reading through all
Way
those.
back when.
Yeah, we bought the Arnold Encyclopedia of Bodybuilding,
Yes,
so I would read through that. Now one thing I want to specify real quick though is without knowing it, I would read something and then do it. Like I would actually have a practical application.
Right.
So, or I was always, I can't think of the proper terminology right now, but I was always a very critical reader. Like I would read something saying, prove to me that this is right. I wouldn't read it and just assume it's in the magazine it's right. So I remember reading stuff from Muscle Fitness and being like, that's stupid, I'd never do that. And then I'll try it, sometimes I'd actually be right, and I'm like, I don't see the point of this. And now, like later on, I've realized, okay, they just wrote that article because it appealed to some part of their like population that they want to get, and they don't. The article is actually a piece of crap. So sometimes things in magazines are pieces of crap. However, often I would be like, that's dumb. I'm trying to, holy crap, that was horrible. That was fantastic and beat me up better than I thought. So, but I would always do something with the knowledge. So yeah, so it's kind of like doing a daily education, but then reviewing it or practical application too. So yeah, so that was kind of a big thing. So one of the trainers.
How did you find your education sources? Like, remember last month I read an article and you asked me where I read it from, and it wasn't totally correct.
Yeah.
But I'm reading it as if the writer was right in everything that he put down.
Yeah, so that's where, that's a good answer is like, how do I know, I might read an article, I might try it and still not sure. Is you have to read more and more and more. So let's just say, for example, I read an article on, I'm trying to think of an example. Okay, let's say like how to eat before a workout.
Right.
And it just says it, but they didn't specify whether it was strength, whether it was for mass, whether it was just general health. We have no clue. And when we first read it, we would just assume it was for us. We don't realize that an article only has like for how to eat before a workout has a niche to it, or like a focal point. I might just say, I'm reading this, it's for me.
Yeah.
So I try it, and it doesn't quite work. I'm like confused. So what I kind of tell people is read multiple columns, like multiple sources. So if I read about a topic, I'm like, wow, that's kind of a really cool concept. Let me go read more people's articles.
Right.
And then if I read, say, 10 articles, and say 8 of the 10 say a certain thing, that's probably true.
Right.
If 1 out of the 10 says it's crazy shit, it's definitely not true. You know, so it's kind of one of those things where you just have to do more, and then as you read more overlapping stuff, you see what actually overlaps and what doesn't. It's going to be the common threads that are the truth parts, and something that somebody says that no one else says is probably not useful.
Right.
Yeah, so that's what I would do is if you read an article and you come to somebody like me and I tell you it's not right, or you try and feel that it might not be right, read more things about that exact same thing. So double down on that exact topic and see if you can filter through what was said often what wasn't. Yeah, so.
And another thing, sorry.
No, yeah, please.
Is I don't like the argument from authority, but look at who wrote it. Because, you know, let's say so-and-so writes about biomechanical movement for the bench press, and they are a general practitioner.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't have they probably don't have.
And they probably bench press 135.
Right, and then also look at the source that you're reading. Because if odds are, if it's Muscle and Strength, bodybuilding.com, they're going to have some kind of affiliation with a supplement company or some professional that wants to sell you something. So you can always get skewed opinions inserted in those articles. So be careful.
Yeah, and there's definitely like, not to call out certain companies, even though probably going to be 5 people watch this, but certain times you'll read an article, and then at the end it has a supplement.
Yeah.
That article meant nothing. They just want to sell something.
Yeah.
So they're just putting some words on a piece of paper to hope to buy that supplement.
Exactly.
Now, the exception to that is when you read, like say I have a certain person, like I mentioned that Ben Pekulski podcast, is I've watched enough of his to where like he tells you which companies he's affiliated with. He tells you exactly right away.
Yeah.
He tells you that this product will help this concept and here's why. And then when he mentions like products that he's not even affiliated with, I've kind of developed that trust with his information.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, okay, he's probably not trying to sell me this.
Yeah.
He's not even affiliated with this company, and he doesn't do this on a regular basis. This probably actually is good.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's one thing about like if somebody's trying to sell you something in an article, and then just generally an article is like you talked about where if it's this is gonna sound so mean, but say somebody is writing about this is kind of mean, but if they're writing about like building a bench press, and it's a guy and he bench presses 135,
Yeah.
he knows how to build your bench press to 135.
135, and that's it.
And maybe a smidge more, let's say 10% over.
Yeah.
But does he know how to do a 500-pound bench press?
Right.
Probably not.
Right.
So I'll say this in myself, so I'll use myself as the example, so that way I don't seem like such a jerk. Is I've had a fair amount of injuries, as you know, so I've torn 13 muscles, actually 14 because I just tore one recently, and 6 ligaments. So, but I can still squat 600, I can still deadlift over 600, I can still bench over 400. Now, am I going to teach somebody how to squat 1,000? Probably not. There's probably things I don't know.
Right.
So until I get more weight on my back, or until I have that experience, I probably can get somebody close, or maybe a little better than 600.
Yeah.
So if I have a 600-pound max squat, can I get somebody to probably 660, which would be 10% of it? Probably. Am I going to get somebody to an 800 or 900-pound squat? I don't know. I've never had that opportunity. So yeah.
Right.
So that might be something where, like when we talk about who wrote the article, so if I can bench 405, and I write an article how to bench 405, I'm probably credited.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but if I've not even come within 10% of what the hell I'm writing the article about, it's kind of like if you see a fat person writing an article about contest prep. That sounds so mean, but they've never done it. They're probably not going to be pretty. They're probably just regurgitating what they heard other people who actually did it say. That's really what you usually see is people passing around information. So they're going to see something from an expert, and they're going to present it their own like blog or their own like article or whatever. Present it because they assume it's true, but they've never actually done it. So that's what you start to see is people just passing around information. Yeah. So usually as a trainer, I try to stick with what I do and what I know. So, and that's actually the next point here is I tried stuff. Like I would pretend like I was a client. So if I wanted, like say if I'm like, man, I love bodybuilding, I love all this stuff, but I wonder if I ever get a football player, I wonder how I train him.
Yeah.
Well, I'll just train myself like a football player for the next month.
Yeah.
So I'll write out workouts as if I was that client. You know, so whatever client I want. If I want a contest client, well then I'm going to prep myself for a contest. Find out what it's like. If I want to try to, teach somebody to squat 600 pounds, I'm going to attempt to go ahead and try to start squatting 600 pounds.
Or give them 1,000 squats to do.
Yes, so yeah. So we did some mental training. So one of the workouts, like when I was getting my mom ready for a contest, and she was getting mentally defeated towards this contest prep and saying she can't do this, she can't do it. And I hate the word can't, it drives me nuts. It just means you won't. So, so I gave her a piece of paper that told her to put 25-pound plate on each side of the Smith machine, do 1,000 squats.
Right.
If you leave the gym before 1,000, we're not doing the contest.
Yeah.
And I wasn't even there. I wouldn't even go. So yeah, so she actually did all 1,000. So my dad helped her count.
But then
So-
I found out you had
But
done it
yeah,
before.
so she found out that I did it the week beforehand.
Yeah.
So with a little more weight, because that wasn't fair. That sucked horribly bad. It was awful. So, but it was something where like when you first see it, it looks like an I can't experience. But then all of a sudden you push through it, you have this huge mental like boost saying, man, I did it, I crushed it, it was horrible, but I'm so proud of myself.
Right.
So, but that's what I did for you, was I knew that she needed mental toughness, and I was racking my brain on things to do. I thought of an idea, I tried it, made sure it was possible, made sure what it felt like, and then if it was good, I made her try it.
Right.
So I practiced on myself, basically. So like I tell people is read something or learn something every day, but review it or journal it or like be critical of it. Like try to use that information or put like some thought behind it. Don't just read it and go file it away in your brain.
Yeah.
So then the other thing is going to be to pretend or trial stuff on your own. And then the last one would be to share your ideas with other people. And that doesn't necessarily mean social media. Actually would mean a discussion format where somebody's talking back to you. So, because if you just present your information, you get 30 likes and no one comments negatively, that doesn't mean you actually know what you're doing.
Yeah.
It just means your friends and family scrolled past your thing and clicked like before they kept scrolling.
Yeah, they
That
like
was
your
basically
ads or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but if you talk to another trainer or you talk to somebody who lifts weights, or if you have a gym buddy or a training partner, talk to them about things you're learning, you get feedback. You know, when you have interaction, that makes it a lot different than just posting stuff and maybe not getting the interaction.
Right.
Yeah. So.
That's
You
true.
probably get to do that a lot at your job.
At the store.
At the store, yeah, because you'd be with your experience and everything.
Yeah, I mean, I give out the best advice I can, given where I am.
Yeah, and that actually brought up a real quick concept is building confidence is staying in your lane.
Yeah.
Too. Like if I know I don't know what I'm talking about, I'm not going to talk.
Oh yeah.
So for example, supplements is I have a master's in nutrition, but I don't know a ton about supplements because that's not what I do all day.
Right.
So like I send them to Steve or you, and they'll ask you guys about the supplements because you know more than I do about that.
Right.
So that like if I were to try to talk outside of my realm, that is going to be lack of confidence because I'm like, shit, I don't really, like underlyingly I'm like, I don't really know what I'm talking about.
And I make myself a goal every time I don't know something that somebody asks me, especially about supplements, because I take that really seriously. If I don't know the question or their answer, or I mean the answer to their question, I say I don't know that now, but I'm going to know the next time you come and see me.
Absolutely, yes.
And so that is my goal, to learn as much as I can about that specific topic. And then I see them next time, I'm like, hey, so this, and this.
Yeah, that's a great way to build knowledge.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like force yourself to say, I don't know.
Yeah.
So that way you're honest. And then that's not going to feel good.
Yeah.
So then go know it. Like, go
Right.
learn it. Yeah.
It kind of puts you in that
Yeah.
fight or flight. Like, your back's against the wall, people see you as this professional, and you don't know, but you have no choice but to learn in order to stay on top. So,
Yeah. So that's how you're gonna grow yourself as a business, how you're gonna grow your confidence, and how you're gonna get people to listen to you.
Right.
Is being honest and saying you don't know, but then increasing that knowledge, going back and showing them that you learned it. You know, they're gonna trust in you to not lie to them,
Right.
and they're gonna trust in you that you're putting in the work to know it.
Yeah.
So like I have people come and train with me who are trainers, they know this stuff, but they don't want to take the time to write stuff down.
Yeah.
They're kind of too busy with the way their business is structured to where they're not learning the newest stuff. So they're doing what they need to keep up with like their clients,
Right.
and they don't read the newest research, or they don't look at the coolest like ways of training. So they'll come to me because they're like, hey, in that 1 hour session with you, I can learn this concept,
Right.
but I didn't have to do the 5 or 6 or 10 hours of learning stuff to get this 1 hour. You do that for me. I'll pay you as a trainer to read all that crap and figure it out, to distill it down, and then me as a trainer will come and pay you because now I can learn it in an hour.
Right.
What took you 10 hours to learn, I can learn in 1 hour, and that gives them the other 9 hours to run their business.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that's something that's definitely helpful. So, yeah. Okay. The last thing is how to build your social media identity.